Was the 1974 World Cup final just another game, or a tactical blueprint that changed football forever? Today we're dissecting the ultimate showdown, where West Germany's disciplined approach didn't just beat total football, it arguably dismantled it. The date is July 7th, 1974. The place is Munich. The atmosphere is heavy, thick with smoke and nerves. On one side, the Netherlands. They look like rock stars, they play like artists, and the entire world is convinced they cannot lose. On the other side, the hosts, West Germany. They are seen as the villains in this story, the pragmatic machine standing in the way of beautiful football. What went down in those 90 minutes wasn't about art losing to power. It was a lesson in breaking a so-called perfect machine. Let's rewind a bit. To understand the shock of this result, you have to understand the aura around this Dutch team. In 1974, the Netherlands weren't just winning games, they were reinventing the sport. They called it total football. It was fluid, it was confusing, and for opposing teams, it was a nightmare. Led by Johan Cruyff, a man who saw spaces on the pitch that didn't exist for anyone else, the Dutch tore through the tournament. They crushed Argentina 4-0. They beat East Germany, and they knocked out the defending champions, Brazil, in a game that was essentially a street fight. They arrived at the final in Munich not just as favorites, but as chosen ones. The press loved them, the neutral fans loved them. They had long hair, they smoked cigarettes, and they looked cool doing it. Everyone expected a coronation. They expected Cruyff to lift the trophy and solidify total football as the only way to play the game. But there is a dangerous thing about believing your own hype. The Dutch didn't just think they were better, they thought they were untouchable. And that specific kind of arrogance is exactly what a team like West Germany feeds on. While the world was falling in love with the Dutch team, West Germany was in turmoil. It's easy to forget now, but the Germans almost didn't make it out of their training camp. West German players, led by Franz Beckenbauer, got into a big argument with the German Football Association about their win bonuses. Players threatened to leave. The camp was a mess. But on the pitch, they were European champions. They had talent that rivaled the Dutch, just without the cool factor. They had Franz Beckenbauer, the Kaiser, who controlled the game from the back with a calmness that was almost scary. Paul Breitner, a rebel with an afro who played left back like a playmaker. And they had Gerd Müller. We need to talk about Müller. He wasn't graceful. He didn't do stepovers. He looked like a weightlifter who got lost on a football field. But if the ball was inside the penalty box, Müller would score. It was a law of physics. The German coach, Helmut Schön, knew they couldn't outplay the Dutch at their own game. If they tried to run around and swap positions, they would get dizzy and lose 5-0. They needed a plan, a specific, ruthless plan to stop the heartbeat of the Dutch team. They didn't need to stop total football, they just needed to stop Johan Cruyff. And for that, they had Bertie Vogts. The referee blows the whistle. The match starts, and what happens in the first 60 seconds is the most famous opening in World Cup history. Cruyff drops deep, picks up the ball, and accelerates. He runs past one German, then another. He drives into the box. Uli Hoeneß, the German midfielder, panics. He slides in. It's a clumsy tackle. Cruyff goes down. Penalty. It hasn't even been 2 minutes. The Germans have literally not touched the ball, and they are already facing a penalty kick. Johan Neeskens steps up and smashes it down the middle. 1-0. This is the moment. This is where the script says Germany collapses. The crowd in Munich is stunned into silence. The Dutch look like gods. It felt like the game was over before it began. And honestly, if the Netherlands had kept playing normally, it probably would have been over. After the goal, the Dutch changed. They stopped attacking with that lethal, direct speed. They started to toy with the Germans. They passed the ball around just to show they could. It was like a cat playing with a mouse before eating it. They rolled the ball around for 20 minutes. Cruyff was walking. The Dutch fans were cheering every pass with an "Olé!" This was their mistake. You do not disrespect a German team. By slowing the game down, the Dutch gave Germany time to breathe. They gave them time to shake off the shock. And slowly, the German machine started to gear up. The shock wore off, replaced by anger. And in the background, Bertie Vogts started his mission. Bertie Vogts wasn't the tallest or the most skilled, but he never ever stopped running. His instructions were simple. Wherever Cruyff goes, you go. If Cruyff goes to the wing, you go. If Cruyff goes to the bathroom, you go. For the rest of the first half, viewers witnessed one of the greatest defensive performances in history. Vogts became Cruyff's shadow. Every time the Dutch genius got the ball, he felt breath on his neck. He felt a tug on his shirt. He felt a tackle coming in. Cruyff, who was used to drifting into empty spaces, suddenly found no space at all. He started dropping deeper and deeper just to get a touch of the ball, which meant he was further away from the goal where he could do damage. The Dutch system relied on Cruyff conducting the orchestra, but the conductor was being strangled. With their leader neutralized, the Dutch total football started to look a bit less total. The fluid movements became confused, the passes weren't connecting. The Germans were intercepting, biting into tackles, and winning the physical battle. 25 minutes in, Germany is growing into the game. Bernd Hülsenbein, a German winger, makes a run into the Dutch box. He cuts inside. The Dutch defender, Wim Jansen, slides in. Did he touch him? It's still debated today. Hülsenbein goes down. It looks soft, but the referee points to the spot. Penalty to Germany. The Dutch are furious. They surround the referee, but the decision stands. Paul Breitner steps up. Now imagine the pressure. You are losing 1-0 in the World Cup final in your own country. If you miss, you kill the mood of an entire nation. Breitner didn't care. He stared down the keeper and slotted it into the corner. 1-1. The game is reset, but the momentum has completely flipped. The Dutch arrogance has evaporated, replaced by confusion. How are we not winning? They seemed to ask. The Germans, meanwhile, sensed blood. As halftime approached, the match turned into a real battle, end to end. But Germany looked sharper. They were finding holes in Dutch defense. Then the moment arrived. 43rd minute. Rainer Bonhoff makes a powerful run down the right side. He gets to the edge of the box and crosses the ball low. It finds Gerd Müller. Müller's first touch is actually terrible. The ball bounces away from him, slightly behind his heel. He turns his body, dragging his foot, and snaps a shot toward the far corner. It's an awkward, ugly, scuffed shot, but it goes right past the defender's leg and past the goalkeeper into the net. 2-1 West Germany. Gerd Müller jumps in the air. The stadium explodes. The Dutch are shell-shocked. They went from looking like the greatest team on earth to losing, all within 45 minutes. The second half was a different story. It wasn't about tactics anymore. It was about survival. The Dutch came out angry. They threw everything at the German defense. They abandoned the pretty patterns and just started launching waves of attacks. But the German defense, led by Beckenbauer, was a wall, and behind that wall was Sepp Maier. The German goalkeeper played the game of his life. He was diving at feet, tipping shots over the bar, catching crosses in traffic. Nieskens had a huge chance from close range, and Maier threw his body in the way to block it. Cruyff tried to make things happen, but Vox was still there, nipping at his heels, frustrating him. Germany actually scored a third goal, another strike by Müller, but it was wrongly ruled out for offside. The final minutes were agony for the home fans. Every second felt like an hour. The Dutch were desperate, pushing everyone forward. But the Germans were disciplined. They cleared their lines. They kept their shape. They didn't panic. And then the whistle blew. West Germany 2, Netherlands 1. The Germans fell to the ground in exhaustion and joy. The Dutch stood there, hands on hips, staring into space. They had lost. This game changed football because it proved that a system, no matter how beautiful, is fragile. Once Germany broke that momentum with gritty man-marking and clinical finishing, the Dutch system collapsed on itself. People often say the Netherlands were the best team to never win the World Cup, and maybe that's true. But on that day in Munich, West Germany was the better team. The 1974 final wasn't a theft. It wasn't luck. It was a tactical dismantling. West Germany looked at the invincible Dutch machine, saw the gears turning, and threw a wrench right into the most important cog. They proved that while beauty in football is nice, effectiveness is what puts stars on the jersey. The Dutch won our hearts, but the Germans won the game. If you enjoyed this breakdown of football history, subscribe and check the channel for more.